Welcome back to another episode of Organizing Tune-Ups with your host, Jessica Littman, the Organized Mama, where we are breaking down big organizing concepts into small, bite-sized chunks you can do in your home every day for 5 to 15 minutes. So we use these declutter questions on items that we are unsure if we need to keep or not. The items that you know 100% you use, you want to keep, you don't need to ask yourself these questions. The items you know 100% no, they need to go, we need to get rid of them. Those items are definite no, you don't need to keep them. These questions are on those questionable items, the maybes, the I'm not sure, the I don't totally know items. These are some of the questions that you're going to want to ask in order to determine, yes, keep it, no, I can get rid of it. One of my favorite things to do is to ask questions as we are decluttering. And so I call these declutter questions. I love these questions so much because they really help us focus on really truly getting to the root of like what we want to keep and why we want to keep those items. So I'm going to go through some of my guided declutter questions. And if you want the entire list, you can get it for free where you are listening to this podcast. So my first question has to do with why do you want to keep something? Have you admired it within the last year? And I say the last year because some things we like to keep and admire because they do have sentimental meaning. If there are holiday items that you really like and appreciate, then you only use those within the past year. You don't use those all the time. I once had an in-home client who had this entire box of old ornaments, and she loved them, but she never admired them. She never put them up. She never did anything because they were old. So instead, she decided to hire a photographer to take pictures of all of these ornaments and stage them, make them really cute, have family stories with them. And now it's created a book of all of these ornaments with family stories behind each one. So now she's able to admire these ornaments in a different way. So she doesn't need to hold on to the physical thing. So that's why I'm asking, have you admired this item within the past year? Because if you've just opened the box, are you actually admiring them, or are you just holding on to something that you hope one day maybe you can display? So ask yourself that. And then another question that is a really big one in the minimalist community is, can you replace this item for $20 or less? Now, for some of you, $20 might be a lot of money. So give yourself an amount. Can I replace this for X amount of money or less? The reason why is sometimes we hold on to something because of the monetary value that we have placed on it. And if we are able to replace it, if we find that we actually need it, then it makes it easier to part with and declutter with versus holding on to it just for the sake of holding on to it because, okay, well, I spent $15 on this apple slicer, so I'm going to hold on to it, but we never use it, and it makes it really hard to keep the drawer organized. So I want you to think about removing the monetary value of some items and if you're able to replace it if need be. Because likelihood is, if you haven't used it yet and you're questioning to actually keep it, then why? If you need to replace it, how much would be okay for you to replace that particular item if you need it down the road? Another question you can ask yourself is, do I have an item I'm keeping in my home that I want or that can replace this item? So let me give you an example with the apple slicer. If you aren't using the apple slicer, if your kids aren't using if nobody in your house is using the apple slicer, but you have a knife that everyone uses to cut the apples, then that knife can replace the apple slicer. It does the same thing and it takes up less space in your cabinets. So when you ask yourself, do I have another item in my home that can replace this item? That's what you want to focus on. Can this item that you have be replaced by something else and do the exact same purpose? Do you want to handle this item again? That means, do you want to have to decide whether you need to keep it or donate it again? That is a big question because a lot of times we hold on to things like, well, I might use it one day. But what if one day comes and you're still asking yourself, do I need to keep this item? Do I want to handle this again? This is where you need to get really serious with yourself and focus on if it is actually worth keeping or if you can part with it. Another question, am I keeping this item out of guilt? If you're keeping something because it's supposed to be sentimental, if you're keeping something because it's supposed to be whatever, you're keeping it out of guilt. And a lot of times you can part with that particular item. We can switch how we view gift giving. The act of giving the gift is the gift, not the physical item of said gift. When you start to look at the generosity of somebody, not the physical item that they gave you, it helps eliminate some of the guilt on some items. So you can ask yourself, am I keeping this out of guilt? And what would happen if I parted with it now? A clothing question, do I actually wear this or do I like the idea of this item? Because a lot of times we like the idea of this item. We like the vision of ourselves in this particular ensemble, but that ensemble might not actually be flattering on us. We might not actually have anywhere to wear it to. What if like that particular item just doesn't go with any of our life choices, but you like the idea of that item? It is okay to let that item go and know it served its purpose. It served its purpose in you thinking about yourself in a different light. Now, if you're like, no, I want that version of me, I want to wear that outfit, I'm going to be that person, then start wearing it. Or why are you not wearing it? Why? What is the why behind it? When you start asking yourself these questions, it's going to make figuring out what to keep and what not to keep so much easier because you can get clear on what direction you want to have things in your house. You should showcase the items you love. You should use the things that you have in your house. You should feel good about everything. If anything makes you feel bad, guilty, just crabby, then what is the point of you holding on to it? What is the point of that taking up space in your house? Your house is supposed to be your tranquil environment. Yes, you have kids. Yes, you have a family. Yes, lots of things take up space in your house. But the end goal of your home is for it to feel cozy and loved. You don't want to have that extra baggage, the physical remains of the baggage hanging in your house. You don't need that. You don't. So you can part with it. Somebody else will truly appreciate what is no longer serving you. So I want you to feel good about donating, about selling, about getting rid of items that are no longer serving you because you are going to live your best life with the things that make you shine. Download my free list of declutter questions. There are a ton more to help you focus your declutter efforts so that you can truly feel confident in parting with the things that are no longer serving you.